Listen to me. Everybody wants the prize, but nobody wants to grind for it. Everybody wants to be successful, to shine, to stand on the podium with the trophy raised high. But you don't get there wishing for it. You don't get there dreaming about it. You get there by working for it. By showing up when it's hard. By pushing through when it's not fun. That's the process. Everybody wants to be great until it's time to do what greatness actually requires. We admire champions, CEOs, artists, and athletes at the top of their game, but we often overlook what it took to get there. What we see is the highlight reel, the trophies, the but what we don't see is the early mornings when no one was watching, the tears shed in silence, the sacrifices made when no one else understood the vision. That's where greatness is built. Not on the stage, not at the finish line, but in the lonely, thankless hours of the process. The truth is, the process is where most people fall off. Why? Because the process is boring. It's repetitive. It doesn't come with immediate rewards. It's not sexy. No one's clapping for you when you're waking up at 5 a.m. to work on your craft. No one's patting you on the back when you're staying late, when you're failing again and again, when you're putting in work and nothing seems to be paying off. But that's exactly where greatness lives, right there in the trenches, in the dark, when nobody sees you and no one's celebrating you. Too many people are addicted to the end result. They want the glory, but they despise the grind. They want the body, but hate the workouts. They want the business, but avoid the hustle. They want the followers, the fame, the fortune, but don't want to go through the pain, the discipline, the consistency. What they don't realize is that greatness doesn't show up at the end of the process. It shows up every time you choose discipline over comfort, growth over excuses, purpose over distraction. And that's why falling in love with the process is the only path to real, lasting success. Because if you're only in it for the reward, you'll quit when it gets hard. You'll walk away when the results don't come fast enough. You'll break down the moment you hit resistance. But when you're in love with the process, when the grind itself becomes your passion, your therapy, your identity, that's when you become dangerous. That's when nothing can stop you. Not setbacks, not failure, not criticism, not delay. You keep showing up. You keep working. Because it's no longer about the destination. It's about who you're becoming every single day. The process teaches you what no prize ever can. It humbles you. It refines you. It exposes your weaknesses and demands that you face them. It forces you to level up mentally, emotionally, physically. It builds resilience. It teaches patience. It develops character. These are things no medal, no paycheck, no recognition can ever give you. The process is the real reward because it makes you into the kind of person who can actually handle the prize when it comes. That's the paradox of success. If you're not willing to go through the process, you're not ready for the reward. And if you shortcut the journey, you rob yourself of the strength, the grit, the wisdom you need to sustain success when you finally reach it. Because getting there is one thing, but staying there, that requires a foundation built by years of unseen effort, uncelebrated struggle, and unrelenting commitment. So the next time you see someone who's winning, don't envy the prize, respect the process. Don't just ask what they have, ask what they did, ask what they sacrificed. Ask how many times they failed, how many nights they didn't sleep, how many times they wanted to quit but did. Because that's where greatness lives, in the ugly, raw, unfiltered reality of the process. And if you want to be great, truly great, you have to train yourself to fall in love with that reality. You have to crave the grind. You have to wake up excited, not because of the results, but because of the work itself. You have to learn to find satisfaction in the struggle, pride in the progress, and joy in the journey. That's the real win. That's what separates the legends from the ones who just had potential. The process is what transforms potential into power, into purpose, into impact. It doesn't matter what field you're in, sports, business, music, art, academics. If you want to rise above average, the process has to be your obsession. You don't get to skip steps. You don't get to microwave mastery. You've got to go through the fire. You've got to do the reps. You've got to stay longer, push harder, fail faster, and learn deeper. That's the price. That's the standard. That's the process. And only those who embrace it will ever truly taste greatness. The prize is what everyone sees first. It's the shiny trophy, the celebration, the moment of recognition. It's the highlight reel, the victory lap, the standing ovation. But the prize, as tempting as it is only the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies the process, the countless unseen hours, the sweat, the sacrifice, the setbacks, the discipline that most people never witness. It's easy to get caught up dreaming about the prize without understanding what it truly takes to earn it. Many people chase after success, fame, money, or recognition because they want the prize. They imagine that once they have it, everything will be easier, better, or more meaningful. But the truth is, the prize is fleeting. It's a moment in time that can vanish quickly if you don't have the process to back it up. Without embracing the process, the prize becomes hollow, empty, and sometimes even a source of pressure or anxiety. The prize can't hold you up. The process is what builds the foundation strong enough to carry you through challenges long after the applause fades. When you focus only on the prize, you miss the opportunity to grow. The process is where the real transformation happens. It's in the struggle, the grind, and the repetition that you develop resilience, character, and skill. The process demands patience and persistence. It requires you to show up day after day, even when you don't feel like it. It forces you to push through doubt, boredom, and frustration. The prize can't teach you that. The prize is just the reward for learning how to master the process. The process also builds discipline. Discipline is the muscle that keeps you moving forward when motivation runs out. Motivation is temporary. It's a feeling that comes and goes. Discipline, however, is the commitment to act regardless of how you feel. And discipline is forged only through consistent work over time, through the daily choices to stick with the process, to do the work that needs to be done, even if it's uncomfortable, repetitive, or unseen by others. Falling in love with the process means finding joy in the journey. It means celebrating progress, not just results. It means waking up each day excited to improve, to learn, to get better, regardless of how close or far you are from the prize. When you love the process, setbacks become lessons and failures become stepping stones. You stop fearing the hard days because you know they're part of the path. You start to value effort more than outcome. Another reason the process is more important than the prize is that the prize can be unpredictable. Sometimes you do everything right and still don't get the result you wanted. The prize might be taken away by circumstances beyond your control, injuries, politics, timing, luck. But the process is always in your hands. The process is where you have control. It's where you can show up and do your part regardless of what life throws at you. When you focus on the process, you find a sense of empowerment because you're not relying on chance or external validation. Loving the process also helps build mental toughness. The process is often lonely and challenging. It's where you face your weaknesses head on. It's where you deal with rejection, criticism, and self-doubt. It's where you learn to be comfortable with discomfort. When you embrace this reality, you develop a mindset that can withstand pressure, overcome obstacles, and stay committed even when things aren't going your way. That kind of toughness doesn't come from winning trophies. It comes from doing the work day in and day out. The process shapes identity. When you fall in love with the prize, you tie your self-worth to outcome, winning, being praised, or achieving a certain status. But when you fall in love with the process, you tie your self-worth to who you are becoming. You identify as someone who works hard, someone who perseveres, someone who improves. Your identity shifts from I want to win, into I am a person who shows up, who works, who never quits. That shift is powerful because it means your value isn't dependent on winning. It's inherent in your commitment to Temple Park. Also, the process keeps you humble. When you're focused only on the prize, it's easy to become arrogant or complacent once you get there. But if you love the process, you understand that mastery is ongoing. There is always more to learn, more to improve, and more work to be done. That mindset keeps you hungry, curious, and grounded. It reminds you that the journey never truly ends, that you have to keep growing no matter how many prizes you've earned. The prize can be a great motivator, but it's a poor foundation. Building your life around the prize alone sets you up for disappointment and burnout. Because when the prize finally arrives, the excitement fades and you're left wondering, oh, what's next? But when you love the process, you create a sustainable lifestyle of growth and purpose. You find fulfillment in the effort itself, and that's what leads to lasting success and happiness. When you focus on the process, you become more present. You're not constantly anxious about the future or obsessed with the outcome. You're immersed in the work at hand, paying attention to the small details that matter. That presence improves your performance because excellence is found in the details. It's found in the daily commitment to quality and consistency. The prize might be flashy, but the process is where mastery is born. Ultimately, the prize is just a milestone, a checkpoint on a much longer journey. If you fall in love only with that milestone, you'll be disappointed when the journey continues beyond it. But if you fall in love with the process, the work, the struggle, the daily grind, you'll find a source of energy and purpose that never runs dry. The process is the real prize. It's what transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. It's what builds legacy, not just trophies. It's what makes success meaningful. Everybody wants to be successful until they realize what it actually costs. They see the glamour, the lifestyle, the respect, but they don't see the pain, the grind, the repetition that built it. Success isn't something you stumble into. It doesn't happen by accident. It's forged through sacrifice. It's earned through discipline. It's born out of consistency, doing the same thing over and over, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one's watching or applauding. Repetition is the secret that most people overlook. People want variety. They want excitement. They want something new every day. But mastery lives in repetition. You don't get great at something by doing it once in a while. You don't get strong by going to the gym once a month. You don't become a skilled speaker, artist, leader, athlete, or creator by doing it when it's convenient. It's the commitment to the reps, the countless hours of doing the same drill, the same routine, the same boring basics that creates excellence. The grind is where you separate yourself. It's the work you do when no one else is willing. It's the discipline to show up when it's not fun anymore, when the novelty wears off, when the initial motivation is gone. That's when most people quit. They think just because it's hard, just because it hurts, that is not working. But that pain, that frustration, that's the sign you're growing. That's the evidence that you're pushing beyond your limits. If it's easy, you're not leveling up. If it's comfortable, you're not changing. And then there's sacrifice. Everyone talks about what they want, but very few are willing to give up what they need to in order to get it. Success demands something from you. It will ask you to say no to comfort. It will ask you to distance yourself from distractions, sometimes even from people who don't share your vision. You might have to miss the parties, turn off the TV, stay in on weekends, wake up early when everyone else is sleeping. You'll have to prioritize growth over entertainment, progress over pleasure. Sacrifice is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. You cannot take the old version of yourself into a new level. That means leaving behind bad habits, lazy tendencies, any mindset that keeps you stuck. And the truth is, not everybody's willing to pay that price. That's why not everybody makes it. That's why so many people start strong and fade out. Because they're in love with the idea of success, but not the reality of what it takes to get there. Every person who's achieved something significant will tell you, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight. It happened through thousands of decisions made in silence. It happened through showing up tired, staying up late, pushing through doubt, failing, adjusting, and trying again. There's no glamour in it, no applause. Just you and the work. Just you and the discipline to do it again and again. Discipline is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has left. It's waking up early when the bed is warm. It's studying when you'd rather scroll. It's practicing when you're frustrated. It's making a call when you're scared. That's what separates winners from wishers. Winners don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait to be in the mood. They act on commitment, not emotion. And then you do it again and again and again. You embrace the repetition because you know every rep makes you sharper. Every session makes you stronger. Every sacrifice brings you closer. Every sacrifice brings you closer. It's not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about stacking consistent effort day after day until the results catch up, because eventually they always do. The problem is most people give up right before the breakthrough, right before the results start to show, because they're looking for shortcuts, and shortcuts don't exist. The grind, the sacrifice, the repetition, that's the price of greatness. Not talent, not luck, not some once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, just relentless effort over and over until the world has no choice but to notice. The people who make it aren't the most gifted. They're the most committed, the most disciplined, the most relentless. They're the ones who show up when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's inconvenient. Success will always favor the one who endures, the one who trains in the dark. The one who stays focused while others are distracted. The one who keeps pushing even when the finish line isn't in sight. It's not a glamorous path, but it's the only one that leads to true achievement. Motivation is a spark, but purpose is the fire that keeps burning. Too many people wait around hoping to feel motivated, thinking that one day they'll wake up magically inspired to chase their goals. But that's not how success works. Motivation comes and goes. It's fleeting. It's fleeting. It disappears when life gets tough, when the weather's bad, when you're tired, when things don't go as planned. If you're relying on motivation to move, you'll never make it far, because there will be more days when you don't feel like it than days when you do. Purpose, on the other hand, is different. It's the why that pulls you out of bed in the morning. It's the voice that says, keep going, when everything around you says stop. When you're anchored in purpose, you don't need motivation to show up. You show up because there's something bigger than how you feel in the moment. You show up because you've made a decision, and that decision isn't up for negotiation. The problem with chasing motivation is that it puts your dreams at the mercy of your mood. One bad day, one argument, one setback, and suddenly you're off track. You skip the gym, you miss the deadline, you break your promise to yourself. That's what happens when your foundation is based on feeling. But when your foundation is purpose, you become unshakable. You can have a bad day and still show up. You can be exhausted and still move forward, because the mission hasn't changed. The goal is still in front of you. People who succeed consistently have made peace with doing what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. They've learned how to silence the excuses, how to push through the fog, how to act based on vision, not emotion. That's what separates champions from the rest. It's not that they always want to do the work, it's that they've decided the work is non-negotiable. It's scheduled, it's locked in. It's part of who they are. Purpose creates discipline. Discipline is freedom, It gives you control over your time, your habits, your outcomes. Motivation might get you started, but discipline fueled by purpose is what carries you when the excitement wears off. It's what makes you keep writing when no one's reading, keep training when no one's watching, keep learning when no one's rewarding. It's the silent work that builds the loud success. Think about the people who truly changed the world. The inventors, the athletes, the leaders, the creators. You think they felt like doing the hard things every single day? No, but they had a purpose that was stronger than their feelings. They were connected to something bigger than comfort. That's the key. You have to connect your daily actions to your deepest reasons. If you're chasing goals without a reason behind them, you'll quit the moment it gets inconvenient. But if you tie your actions to something real, your family, your future, your legacy, you'll find the strength to push through. Purpose makes the pain make sense. When you know why you're suffering, why you're sacrificing, it becomes bearable. You're not just tired, you're building something. You're not just sore, you're getting stronger. You're not just alone, you're preparing for something greater. That shift in mindset changes everything. You stop dreading the work and start seeing it as part of your calling. There will be times when you're misunderstood, when people doubt you, when nothing seems to be working. In those moments, motivation won't be enough. A podcast won't be enough. A podcast won't be enough. A motivational quote won't be enough. You need something internal. You need something that burns, even when everything outside of you is cold. That's what purpose is. It's the internal compass that keeps you moving forward, no matter how rough the terrain. When you're aligned with your purpose, you stop chasing quick wins. You stop needing immediate validation. You play the long game. You're not distracted by what other people are doing because your path is your own. You stop comparing and start building. You start trusting the process because you know where it's taking you. You may not have results yet, but you got direction, and direction is more valuable than temporary motivation. Motivation is a high, but it crashes. Purpose is a root. It grounds you. It holds you steady through the storms. If you haven't found it yet, you've got to dig deep. Ask yourself what really matters. What are you willing to suffer for? What are you willing to fight for every single day? Because once you find that, you won't need a cheerleader. You won't need hype. You'll move with intention. So you'll show up with conviction. You'll become consistent, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Success doesn't happen overnight. It's not the result of one big moment, one perfect opportunity, or one lucky break. It's the outcome of small, consistent efforts compounded over time. The people who rise to the top aren't always the most talented or the most gifted. They're the ones who made progress a habit. They're the ones who got obsessed with getting just a little bit better every single day. They understood that real growth doesn't happen in massive leaps. It happens in inches. It happens in the small decisions, the daily actions, the quiet commitment to improvement. When you focus on being 1% better every day, you stop being overwhelmed by how far you have to go and start focusing on what you can do right now. That one extra rep, that one more hour of study, that one more call, that one better choice. It's not glamorous. It doesn't make headlines, but it builds momentum. It builds character. And over time, those small improvements stack up into something powerful. What felt like almost nothing becomes everything. That's how champions are made. Not by intensity for a day, but by consistency for years. The mistake most people make is chasing big changes too fast. They go all in on day one, expecting massive results by day 5. And when they don't see it, they quit. They lose faith. They think it's not working. But the truth is, success rewards those who stay in the game long enough. The ones who understand that every great transformation starts with a simple decision to be better today than you were yesterday. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. When you commit to constant improvement, you shift your mindset. You stop worrying about what you can't control and start taking responsibility for what you can. You start seeing every day as a new opportunity. Not to be the best in the world, but to be the best version of yourself. That's the power of progress. It builds confidence. It builds belief. Every time you follow through, every time you do the work, even when it's hard, you prove to yourself that you're capable of more. That's how self-respect is built. Not with talk, but with action. Getting 1% better doesn't mean you never mess up. It means you don't stay down. You don't let failure define you. You use it. You learn from it. You come back smarter, tougher, sharper. You treat every setback as part of the process because improvement isn't a straight line. It's a cycle of trial, error, adjustment, and persistence. It's not about never falling. It's about always rising, always adapting, always pushing forward. Obsession with progress means you're never satisfied with staying the same. You're grateful for how far you've come, but hungry for more. You're constantly evaluating, refining, and leveling up. You're not comparing yourself to others. You're comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. That's the real competition. That's the mindset of growth. And when you live like that, you become unstoppable because no matter what life throws at you, you find a way to evolve. It takes humility to admit you need to grow and courage to keep going when results are slow. But the payoff is undeniable. 1% better each day compounds. In a month, you've changed. In a year, you're unrecognizable, not because you did something extraordinary once, but because you did something meaningful every day. You stayed locked in. You showed up even when it was inconvenient, uncomfortable, or unnoticed. That's where the real transformation happens, in the moments that feel small but carry massive weight over time. This mindset applies to everything: your health, your career, your relationships, your craft. You don't need to make a grand gesture. You need to make a consistent one. You don't need to overhaul your life in a week. You need to build habits that will carry you for a lifetime. Excellence is a result of intention, not intensity. It's about what you choose to do when no one is watching. It's about making excellence your standard, even when no one is keeping score. People think obsession is a bad thing. But the truth is, if you're not obsessed with your own growth, you'll never reach your full potential. You have to want it so bad that staying the same isn't an option. You have to crave that feeling of stretching yourself, of doing the hard thing, of finishing the day knowing you're better than you were when you woke up. That's the drive that pushes you through plateaus, through boredom, through resistance. It's not about being addicted to the outcome. It's about being addicted to becoming. That's why the 1% mindset is so powerful. It's sustainable. It's practical. It's how the best in the world operate, not by chasing perfection, but by dominating the basics every single day. You don't have to be extraordinary to start. You just have to start. Do the work. Track your progress. Celebrate the small wins. Then do it again and again, because when you keep stacking 1% on top of 1%, it's not long before you look up and realize you're a completely different person, a stronger person, a better person. The kind of person success can't ignore. There's something different about the people who really win, who really thrive, who really rise above the noise. They own their journey. They don't blame circumstances. They don't point fingers, and they don't wait for someone else to come and fix their life. They take full responsibility for where they are, where they're going, and how they're going to get there. They understand that the process is personal and nobody else can walk it for them. It's on them to show up, to put in the work, to face their demons, and to keep moving forward, no matter how messy, how slow, or how uncertain the path may seem. When you own the process, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop hoping that luck or timing or talent will save you. You stop comparing your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. You realize that what works for someone else might not work for you, and that's okay. You start to trust your own pace. You begin to value your own path. You learn that greatness isn't about how fast you move. It's about how intentional and consistent you are, no matter how long it takes. You give yourself permission to grow slowly, to make mistakes, to fall down and get back up again and again. There's power in taking ownership. It puts the control back in your hands. It shifts your mindset from victim to victor. You stop saying, I can't because of them, and you start saying, what can I do with what I have? That kind of thinking breeds resilience. It turns setbacks into lessons. It transforms rejection into redirection. It builds the kind of mental toughness that can't be shaken by failure or doubt or delay. It makes you unbreakable because no matter what happens around you, you know how to respond. You know how to adjust. You know how to keep going, how to keep going. Owning the process also means taking responsibility for your habits, your attitude, your decisions. You stop lying to yourself. You stop making excuses. You stop pretending that tomorrow will be better if you don't change something today. You start being real about the work you're putting in. You start holding yourself to a higher standard, not because someone's watching, but because you know what you're capable of. You know you got more in you. You know settling isn't an option. You've tasted your potential, and now anything less just feels like disrespecting yourself. And when you do mess up, because you don't run from it. You don't hide behind pride or fear. You face it, you take the L, you learn from it, you grow. That's how ownership works. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being accountable. It means looking in the mirror and asking yourself, did I give my best today? And being honest about the answer. It means understanding that the quality of your life is a direct reflection of the choices you make daily. Not what you say you want, what you actually do. There's a freedom in that kind of accountability. It might sound heavy, but it's actually the key to empowerment. When you stop waiting for the world to make it easier, you start creating your own momentum. When you stop hoping someone will save you, you become your own rescue plan. You realize you don't need perfect conditions to move. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You don't even need to feel ready. You just need to own where you are and commit to doing the next right thing over and over again. Owning your process also helps you stay grounded in the chaos. It's easy to get distracted by what others are doing, by who's getting more attention, more opportunities, more success. But comparison dies when you're locked into your own growth. When you're focused on your own grind, your own development, your own evolution, you stop needing to compete with people who aren't even running the same race. You realize that the only person you're really up against is who you were yesterday. That's the only battle that matters. This mindset builds self-respect. It builds trust with yourself. Every time you show up for you, every time you push through resistance, every time you finish what you started, you reinforce the belief that you are capable. And that belief is everything. It's everything. Because when things get dark, and it's not motivation or hype that gets you through. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've been through storms before and you know how to stand tall. You've done the work. You've earned your strength. You built yourself brick by brick, and no one can take that from you. When you own the process, you also own the rewards. You're not dependent on outside validation. You don't need applause to feel worthy. You don't need praise to feel proud, because you know the hours you've put in. You know the sacrifices you've made. You know what it costs you to become who you are, and that internal pride, that quiet satisfaction, that's the real win. That's what it means to rise on your own terms, to hustle without hype, to build without noise, to grow without shortcuts. You become your own proof, your own motivation, your own validation. You don't just chase the dream. You become the person who can carry it.